So if you've known me for a while, you know that I've been a huge fan of Hamza for a long time. So much of a fan that I decided to move to Dubai last year because he recommended it. And actually while I was over there, I actually ended up becoming good friends with Hamza and spent a lot of time in his social circle where I got to know him quite well. And if you don't know who Hamza is, he's a YouTuber who's been making videos for a while about mental health and self-development for men with the goal of empowering young men to become better versions of themselves. And I feel like the reason I could relate so much to him and why a lot of you guys, I assume, relate so much to him is because we have so much in common with him. And this applies for me in particular. We're both the same age, we both grew up in the same part of England, we're both brown, and inherently because of that we dealt with the same sort of insecurities and shortcomings as we were growing up, and also found self-development to be our cure. But recently something feels different about Hamza's videos. His content feels a little different from the Hamza that we all knew just a few years ago, and a lot of people are saying he's become a sellout or too corporate and he's lost his authentic feel. And you can definitely see what they're saying. A lot of his content recently feels like the vibe and feel has changed a lot, from the thumbnails to the longer format podcast type videos and the constant push to join Adonis School, his paid mentorship program. He's come a long way from being in a robe, making videos in his parents' house. I've seen so many comments about fans basically saying that he's lost his magic. If you've ever watched Hamza's videos before, you know he has a supernatural way of making it feel like he's directly talking to you. And whether you believe it or not, guys are just the same. We all have the same issues and same insecurities. Deep down, we all feel like we're 15 years old and we always feel like something's missing, and we try and fill it with money, status, power and women. And Hamza really knows how to speak to that person inside of all of us, because he too feels those insecurities and faces those same problems, but from his experience he offers us a solution. He tells us to journal, to meditate. And the reason I think Hamza gained so much notoriety in such a small amount of time was because he finally showed us another path to filling that void that wasn't just from cheap dopamine. He was trying to give us an actual solution to our problems. And those of us who actually started our journey on self-development can attest to this. Striving to live true to your purpose as a man brings the greatest amount of joy and happiness to any man's life. So then you may ask yourself, why did Hamza pivot his content and completely change the way his channel looks and feels? It's way more high budget and professional. But the reason I want to talk about this today is because I think a lot of people will see these changes and without understanding the context become bitter that Hamza has changed. But as someone who's spent some time with him, getting to know him on a personal level, I want to talk about how I interpret some of these changes that he's made and why I think it's actually not a bad thing. I personally think what he's doing is even more inspirational and something he inevitably needed to go through to get to the next level in his development, and it's something we should all aspire to do as well. Let me explain this a little bit more. Here's what you have to remember. Hamza has spoken a lot about a book that has motivated and inspired him and a lot of his content, which is called The Way of the Superior Man. And in that book, the author talks about how you have to be willing to change everything in your life and how you will experience layer after layer of purposes, each one getting closer and closer to the fullness of your deepest purpose. And all that Hamza's done through this recent transformation is actually practice what he preaches. Hamza has always talked about scaling his business and how as men we should all try and be in the pursuit of money and gaining financial freedom because it allows us to provide for our loved ones and be useful as men. And honestly, this is a massive goal, which means that goal also requires massive change. You can't expect to keep putting in the same inputs and get a different output. So if he just carried on making the same sorts of videos over and over and over again, he couldn't expect to grow as he wants to. He needed to evolve. And just think about it for yourselves, right? If you have a job and you're making, let's say, 3K a month, and you do the same thing every single day of every single month, how do you expect to make more money if you just carry on doing those exact same things? You can't, right? You need to do something differently. Whether it's start a side hustle, sell a product, start making YouTube videos, whatever it is, you have to do something differently in order to get a different result than what you're already getting. And that's all that Hamza's doing. Hamza has exhausted what he could do with the authentic bathrobe feel content. And if you look at other entrepreneurs like Iman Gadzhi, Alex Hormozi, Elon Musk, none of these guys were wearing bathrobes in the first place, but we still found them authentic. And in order to compete with those guys, he needs to change a few things up, which is more than fair in my opinion. It's just like the gym, guys. You need progressive overload. If the 45 kg bench press starts feeling the same, you've got to add a couple kgs on the side. You've got to make changes in order to carry on improving and carry on evolving. You can't just do the same thing over and over again and expect to get to the next level. And a lot of you guys might say you don't feel like watching Hamza anymore because he doesn't feel relatable. When he was in his small little room in his parents' house wearing a bathrobe, that was something we could all relate to because a lot of us are kind of on the same journey. We're living in our parents' house, just trying to improve ourselves and eventually trying to get to the levels that he's accomplished. But the truth is, Hamza hasn't been relatable for a very long time. There's only so long someone who's constantly improving themselves can feel relatable to someone who's not improving themselves at all. If you started off here when you were watching Hamza and he was here making around 5k a month, Well, now he's making 100k, so he's over here. Ask yourself this: how much have you honestly improved since you started watching Hamza? Maybe this much? This much? Well, there's still all that distance there. So the truth is, he shouldn't feel relatable to you. He should be inspiring you to level up. The onus isn't on Hamza to stay the same. It's on us as the viewers to level up at the same rate he is. And that's been his message the whole time. He was never gatekeeping any of the methods for himself, and he was telling us exactly what we need to do to level up. Whereas a lot of these other guys in the industry who tell us, oh yeah, you can relax, you can play video games, you don't need to work every single day, you can have the weekends off. They're all the ones who are gatekeeping because they're the ones who are still working while we all think that it's okay to have 2 days off a week. Hamza told us straight up from day one, some other guy out there is trying to be with your future wife. Are you just gonna sit there and let him, or are you gonna work hard and get to the level that you need to be at? But overall, I think the main takeaway from this is you can never just continue doing the same thing forever. You need to go through the different layers of your purpose and get to the root of it to find your deepest purpose. A lot of the success that you hear from these online entrepreneurs didn't come from just doing the same thing over and over again. They evolved, they transitioned. Imam Gaji started out as a personal trainer. Imagine he just carried on doing that for the rest of his life. We would never know who he is. Hamza's a guy who's been documenting his whole growth on YouTube. He went from a guy making 2k a month, 5k a month, 10k a month, then 100k a month, and now his goal is to hit 500k a month. So it's no wonder he's doing things differently. We're not on his level, so there's no reason why we should find him relatable. And if you really want to still find him relatable, then his old videos haven't gone anywhere. You can still go back and watch them. And that's pretty much it for the video, guys. If you found this useful, remember to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.